Tauta is a good-for-nothing loser living with his hot teacher Yukaheim, who turns out to be 700 years old vampire. In a deadly situation, Tauta ends up drinking Yukaheim's blood and become immortal. With that, Tauta starts building his own harem of immortal girls. However, before any of this happens, a white building can be seen in which a red-haired teacher named Negi enters the school. All the students, especially the girls like Asuna, really admire him and always gather around him to talk and see him up close. While this is happening, there's a girl named Evangeline who is sitting all alone in a classroom. She's a vampire and has been alive for more than 700 years. But for her, being immortal is not something she sees as a good thing. Instead, she thinks it's more like a bad thing, like a curse. After years have passed, Evangeline, who now goes by the name Yukaheim, looks a little older than she did 80 years ago. She's working as a teacher at a college. One day, a group of boys, including a guy named Tauta and his friends, decide to surprise Yukaheim and challenge her to a fight. They hide in a tree and jump out to attack her, but they can't even touch her because she's protected by an invisible shield that they can't see or break through. Yukaheim playfully mocks them for thinking they could actually defeat her, and with a quick punch, she sends them flying into a nearby pond. After dealing with the boys in the classroom, Yukaheim gives them a lesson once again, reminding them that they can only go to the capital if they manage to defeat her. Tauta, being curious, asks Yukaheim about the invisible barrier she used to block their attack, but she doesn't give him an answer. The boys think it might be some sort of magic, but Yukaheim doesn't reveal the truth. In reality, Yukaheim has a special connection with Tauta. She has been taking care of him, almost like a foster parent. That's why she is particularly strict with him. After school ends, Tauta and his friends get together to talk about Yukaheim and the possibility that she's using magic, which is supposed to be old-fashioned and not common anymore. They know about an app that allows people to use magic, but it's really expensive. Tauta has a big dream. He wants to defeat Yukaheim and travel to the capital city. In the capital, there's this massive tower called the Orbital Elevator, and he's determined to climb it. After talking with his friends, Tauta stops by the graveyard to visit the place where his parents are buried. They were in a car accident 2 years ago, and ever since then, Yukaheim has been the one taking care of him. At the gravesite, he notices the name Negi Springfield written on the tombstone. As he's about to leave, he sees a vision of a guy with red hair who tells him he'll be waiting for him at the top of that big tower. The red-haired man vanishes before Tauta can ask anything else. That night, Tauta really wants Yukaheim to teach him how to use magic, but she refuses. She insists that he should keep up his martial arts training instead. The next morning, Tauta and his buddies give it another shot to beat Yukaheim, but just like always, they don't succeed. Yukaheim just reminds them that they're not strong enough to beat her yet. The gang is trying to figure out what to do when their professor, Takabana, comes to their rescue. He offers to teach them magic and gives them a special app to use against Yukaheim. But, unfortunately, the app doesn't work for Tauta because he doesn't have a natural talent for magic. However, Takabana assures him that there's another way. Takabana gives Tauta a bracelet and tells him to give it to Yukaheim as a gift. Later that night, Tauta is still trying to figure out how to give the bracelet to Yukaheim when she suddenly appears. He awkwardly hands her the bracelet and tells her it's for her. Afterward, he quickly runs away. Yukaheim picks up the bracelet and puts it on. After leaving the mall, Yukaheim is surprised when Tauta's friends suddenly appear using teleportation magic. They try to capture her, thinking they can finally defeat her. But Yukaheim doesn't take them too seriously and even laughs at their attempts. Just when things seem bad, Professor Takabana arrives and reveals his true intentions. He knocks out Tauta's friends and summons spears to attack Yukaheim. She tries to use her magic, but the bracelet she's wearing prevents her from doing so. Takabana explains that he's actually a bounty hunter and his mission is to eliminate Yukaheim. Yukaheim is unable to move freely because of the binds holding her down. Takabana gets ready to attack her with his sword, but just in the nick of time, Tauta arrives and blocks the attack. Tauta keeps telling Takabana to leave his friends alone, but Takabana charges at him with incredible speed and cuts off Tauta's left arm. He is about to finish Tauta off, but Yukaheim, even though she's bound, manages to block the attack. However, Takabana doesn't stop there. He mercilessly cuts Yukaheim into pieces, causing Tauta to scream in pain.
Oh my God!
After that, Takabana turns his attention to the rest of Tauta's friends, intending to finish them off. In that moment, even though Yukaheim's body is cut apart, her head somehow talks to Tauta, which shocks him. She tells him that he's not like everyone else because she made him an immortal creature when she rescued him 2 years ago. She gives him a choice. He can either use the power inside of him or not. To use it, he needs to drink her blood. Tauta decides to do it and licks up the red liquid spilled on the ground. With that, Tauta finds the strength to get up and confronts Takabana, telling him to back off from his friends. They rush at each other, but Takabana knocks Tauta down again. Just then something really surprising happens. Tauta's cut off hand sticks back onto his arm. With newfound energy, Tauta hits Tachibana so hard that he's completely taken out of the fight. After that huge effort, Tauta drops to the ground and starts to black out. Just before he loses consciousness, he spots a young girl coming toward him. Later, when he comes around, he discovers that he's still alive and, to his relief, so is Yukaheim. Yukaheim shares her real story with Tauta. She tells him that his parents didn't really lose their lives in a car accident. Instead, she kept a promise to his parents to protect him by giving him the gift of never dying. Tauta doesn't think of this gift as a bad thing. In fact, he's quite happy because it means he can be with Yukaheim forever. After a while, Yukaheim and Tauta realize they have to leave their home because it's not safe for her there anymore. When Yukaheim questions him about his desire to go to the tower, Tauta doesn't tell her the whole truth and simply says it's just something he wants to do. As they keep walking, Tauta notices that most of the land they pass through is empty. This seems to be a common occurrence all around the world, and even the capital city is now called New Tokyo. Tauta wonders why they don't use some form of transportation to travel faster. Yukaheim explains that using transportation could attract bounty hunters, which could lead to violence and bloodshed. That's why they choose to travel on foot, to avoid any unnecessary trouble and stay safe. Tauta feels excited about going to the capital since it's a great opportunity to meet new people and make friends. On their journey, they decide to take a short break. Seizing the moment, Tauta dives into the water for a quick wash. His peaceful bath is interrupted when he bumps into something, or rather, someone. The person he encounters gets upset and sends Tauta flying out of the water. Tauta, thinking he has bumped into a lady, quickly says he's sorry for the mix-up, but the individual corrects him, saying that he's not a woman. The person is actually a guy named Takasaka Kuramaru. Kuramaru is quite taken with Tauta's quick reflexes, mentioning that it's rare for someone Tauta's age to be able to avoid his surprise attack. Kuramaru goes on to share that he has come from the tower and is now heading towards the capital. Tauta's interest is piqued when he learns this bit of Kuramaru's story. He's aware that Kuramaru's family must be quite wealthy, as only the rich have the means to live near the top of the tower. Kuramaru reveals that he has been cast out by his family and is forbidden to return until he locates a woman named Evangeline and defeats her. As he speaks, Kuramaru notices that Tauta doesn't have a reflection in the mirror. Just then, Yukaheim appears, and Kuramaru immediately recognizes her as the woman he's been searching for. Without hesitation, he charges at Yukaheim with his sword, but she effortlessly blocks his attack. Yukaheim identifies Kuramaru as one of her long-standing foes, the Shinmei Rai. Confused by the situation, Tauta demands an explanation, and Kuramaru reveals that he belongs to a clan called the Yatagarasu, whose purpose is to hunt down immortals. He informs Tauta that he's aware that Tauta is also a vampire. This news saddens Tauta, as he had hoped to become friends with Kuramaru. Undeterred, Kuramaru powers himself up and attempts to attack Yukaheim once more, but she simply pushes her hand into his chest, incapacitating him. Tauta is shocked to see Yukaheim harm Kuramaru, but Yukaheim points out that Kuramaru is healing quickly because he's also an immortal. Kuramaru wakes up and explains that he must defeat Evangeline before he can return home, as his brother commanded him to do so. Yukaheim proposes a deal. If Kuramaru can defeat Tauta, she will fight him. Kuramaru agrees and gives Tauta a sword to fight with. Tauta adds a condition that the loser must grant the winner's wish. Kuramaru accepts, and their fight begins. During their battle, it's obvious they're both pretty tough. Kuramaru thinks he's won when he chops off Tauta's head, but Tauta shocks him by picking up his head and sticking it back on. Then, using the element of surprise, Tauta knocks Kuramaru down and wins. Tauta is a bit worried that Kuramaru might not get up again, but he does. Kuramaru stands up, admitting he lost. Tauta then tells him his wish. He wants them to be buddies. Kuramaru agrees, and they even make it official with a contract. Later, they decide to take a bath. While chilling in the bath, Kuramaru opens up about being kicked out from his clan for being immortal. Afterward, Tauta comes up with a cheeky plan to climb the cliff and peep at the ladies' bath, especially since he knows Yukaheim will be there. Kuramaru is nervous about spying on Yukaheim because she's one of the most feared vampires ever. But Tauta doesn't mind and goes ahead to climb up to the women's bath. There, he finds a young girl by herself and is confused about who she is. She then tells him she's actually Yukaheim. Tauta remembers seeing her as this young girl when he fainted during his earlier fight with Tachibana. Then, right in front of him, the girl turns into the older Yukaheim that Tauta recognizes. She's been taking a special potion to look older, but the young girl is what she really looks like. Suddenly, Tauta isn't as eager to look at Yukaheim as he thought he'd be, seeing her now as just a kid. Yukaheim gets mad and uses her magic to create sharp spears of ice and launches them at Tauta, making him fall from the cliff.
Women.
Kuramaru sees Tauta falling and rushes to save him. But then Kuramaru realizes that there's no point in saving him because Tauta is actually immortal. After this, the three of them decide to continue their journey to the capital. Tauta suggests that they gather other immortals to form a group. With a group of immortals, they can use their powers for good and make a positive impact. When Yukaheim hears Tauta's plan, she laughs and mentions that someone she knew said something similar a long time ago. Before she can finish, a group of cars arrives at the scene. The people in the cars come out and show respect to Yukaheim. One of them, named Karin, threatens Tauta for getting close to Yukaheim. However, Yukaheim assures Karin that Tauta is also immortal. Yukaheim then explains to Tauta that she has already formed an organization of immortals called UQ Holder. They hop on a boat that's set to head to the big city. While they're on their way, Karin can't help but wonder how Yukaheim managed to put up with Tauta for a whole 2 years since she thinks he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Yukaheim advises Karin that it would be wise to make friends with Tauta because their abilities are pretty much equal. This idea doesn't sit well with Karin, and she ends up squeezing her cup so hard it breaks. Eventually, they reach their destination, the Palace of the Immortals, which is a good distance away, about 10 kilometers from the coast of what's known as New Tokyo. This place is their secret hideout, but it's not just for plotting and planning. They've got hot springs too. The crew of UQ Holder is thrilled to have Yukaheim, their boss, back with them. 2 members from the group, Macabe, who's ranked number 6, and Iku, who's number 10, come out to give Tauta and Kuramaru the lowdown. They explain that being immortal doesn't mean you're a vampire. In this diverse group, there are immortals who are beasts, and even some who have found a way to live forever through the world of virtual reality. Macabe reveals that there are creatures lurking beneath the palace who serve as a test for their skills. He suggests that they engage in a duel to determine whether they are fit to join the UQ Holder. Karin joins the scene and expresses her desire to fight Tauta, while Kuramaru will take on Macabe. Without wasting any time, Tauta launches an attack on Karin, but she effortlessly knocks him down with her hammer. Next, it's Kuramaru's turn to face off against Macabe. The fight seems to be in Macabe's favor as he relies on his experience and intuition rather than magic. Kuramaru quickly becomes exhausted during the battle. After the duel, Kuramaru and Tauta sit down to discuss their experiences. However, their conversation is interrupted when a girl carrying a heavy load accidentally trips over their legs and falls down. Tauta and Kuramaru immediately jump in to assist the girl. She had been disposing of garbage, so they lend a hand and toss it all into the bin. They share with her that they're aiming to become members of the UQ Holders. They all exchange names and the girl introduces herself as Shinobu. In another part of the place, Yukaheim is in her office, deep in thought about a challenge she's facing. She's pondering how Tauta, who is Ni's grandson and has encountered similar tests before, will manage this one. Wanting to be helpful, Tauta and Kuramaru offer to help Shinobu with moving some boxes to a storage room. As they search for the storage, they stumble upon a door leading to a basement. Tauta isn't sure they're on the right track, but Kuramaru suggests they can always return to the ground level if this isn't the storage area they're looking for. So, they make their way down to what they thought was a basement, only to discover that it wasn't actually a basement. While they're trying to figure out where they are, a guy named Jinbei Shishido appears. He introduces himself as the second member of the UQ Holders. Tauta and Kuramaru quickly realize that Jinbei must be incredibly powerful to hold such a high rank. Then, Jinbei shows them a sword that is stuck in a brick. He suggests that Tauta give it a try and see if he can pull the sword out. Jinbei explains that the sword is held together by powerful magic created by the great mage Albiroa. Many strongmen have attempted to pull it out in the past, but all have failed. Without hesitation, Tauta approaches the sword and hears a voice guiding him on how to remove it. He notices a dial next to the sword and touches it, causing the sword to disengage from its position. This surprises Jinbei, who asks Tauta how he managed to do it. Tauta reveals that the sword spoke to him and its name is Kurobo. It seems that the sword has been dormant for a long time, waiting for someone worthy to wield it. The story goes that the sword picks who gets to use it. After Tauta pulls it out, Jinbei tells him he's got a lot to learn. The sword's got a bunch of different tricks, like changing how heavy or light it is. Tauta's got to get the hang of all these tricks. He's going to stick around in the basement for his training because it would cause too much trouble if he did it outside. Time passes, and Tauta, along with his friend Kuramaru, keep on practicing. After a while, they both feel ready to test their skills against their rivals. Kuramaru goes up against someone named Macabe, and Tauta decides to take on Karin. Macabe notices that Kuramaru has gotten better since their last fight, but he still doesn't think Kuramaru can beat him. During their battle, Kuramaru begins to wonder what approach Tauta might take if he were in the same situation. Suddenly, Kuramaru gets struck by an idea. In a surprising turn of events, even after Macabe slices off his hand, Kuramaru doesn't give up. Just when Macabe thinks he's won, he's shocked to find a sword has stabbed him from behind. It turns out that Kuramaru has the amazing ability to control his body parts even when they're not attached to him. Using this clever tactic, Kuramaru manages to win the fight. Macabe is knocked down, and on the display, an icon pops up indicating that he's lost a life. When McAbe gets back on his feet, he admits it's been quite a while since he last lost a life, but he's not too worried since he's got over 200 lives left. With this victory, Kuramaru has proven himself and earned his spot in the UQ holder. Meanwhile, the clash between Tauta and Karin is still going on. Their fight is fierce, with neither side showing any sign of backing down. Shinobu is off to the side, rooting for Tauta with lots of enthusiasm. She has no idea, though, that a creature is sneaking up on her. Tauta is really giving it his all and manages to outdo Karin in their battle. He's just about to deliver the final hit when Shinobu's scream grabs his attention. Dropping everything, he dashes over to where Shinobu is. There, he sees her encircled by a bunch of scary monsters. Just as he's about to jump into action against them, Karin arrives to lend a hand. Karin steps in, suggesting she'll draw the monsters away to give Tauta a clear shot at saving Shinobu. As she's leading them off, one of the monsters breaks away from the group, but Tauta is quick to defend. He takes down the monster and whisks Shinobu away to a safe spot. Once they're out of danger, Tauta cranks up his sword's power to an incredible level and leaps at the monster mob, wiping them out in one massive move. The impact is so huge that it leaves a big dent in the ground. Once things calm down, Karin updates Yukaheim, telling her that Tauta has come out on top and is ready to join their group. But Yukaheim is puzzled about how the monsters got out from underneath the building. She then assigns Tauta and Kuramaru the task of clearing out all the monsters from the lower levels. She suspects that Jinbei is connected to the recent chaos and decides he should team up with them soon. Kuramaru and Tauta are summoned to Yukaheim's office for a discussion. There, she informs them about a new task they need to undertake. Although the job was initially meant for Karin, the two of them will be accompanying her to help complete it. This will be their first assignment as novices. Tauta is excited at the thought of traveling to the mission location by vehicle, but his excitement turns to surprise when he learns they'll actually have to hike and run there. As they head toward their destination, Karin shares the mission's specifics. She explains to Kuramaru and Tauta that they are dealing with a group that intends to harm the less fortunate, and it's their job as UQ holders to prevent this from happening. They reach a church where the wrongdoers, known as the invaders, are about to carry out their plan. Tauta, full of energy, charges into the middle of the group and takes them all down, almost without realizing how quickly he's acted. After that, the three of them decide to spend more time with the less fortunate. Tauta takes on the responsibility of cooking meals and helping out with other tasks. Everyone enjoys the food that Tauta prepares, and he starts to question whether he is a savior or simply a chef. Surprisingly, even the bad guys who were knocked out earlier gather around to taste Tauta's food and engage in peaceful conversation. Later on, Karin introduces Tauta to flash step training and explains how it will be beneficial in the future. Without wasting any time, Tauta begins practicing the skill to improve his speed. However, during his training, a guy suddenly appears and knocks Tauta into a nearby trash bin. This person expresses disappointment in Tauta's approach to flash step training, claiming that everything he is doing is incorrect. The guy with bandana demonstrates the proper way to execute the flash step skill. His movements are so precise that there is no trace of dust left behind. It's truly impressive, and he can even use this ability to draw at an incredibly fast pace. Kaido suggests that Tauta use the skill during an arm wrestling match, but Tauta sees it as cheating and refuses. After several examples of how the skill can be used, the guy finally introduces himself to Tauta. The guy's name is Kaido, and he is a martial artist. He is ready to teach Tauta the two skills he needs to make his flash step ability perfect. He assures Tauta that the first technique is the hardest, and once he can master it, he is good to go. Kaido is open to making Tauta his student once he is able to master the first skill. As days go by, Kaido continues to train Tauta on the things he is supposed to do if he plans to master the technique. Tauta is very particular about the skill, and he has given it his all. Everyone notices this, but they don't know what he is planning to do. Afterwards, Kaido can be seen meeting with another guy named Nagumo. Kaido tells him about Tauta, but Nagumo warns Kaido about getting attached to Tauta. Kaido reveals he's just joking around with the group before he transforms into his true wolf form. It turns out Kaido and his group are hunters of immortals, and they're planning to eliminate Tauta and his friends. Shortly after, some guards who are meant to be securing the place are ambushed by a group of people wearing masks. Meanwhile, Karin is suddenly confronted by a mysterious and powerful man in the bathroom. This man seems to be one of the immortal hunters and manages to instill fear in Karin. She warns him to leave while he can still save himself. Ignoring her warning, the man takes out a stick and forces it into Karin's mouth, causing her great discomfort. Through this act, the man realizes that Karin might be immortal because she can still feel pain. The man introduces himself as Ko, who works for a private security company called Powerful Hand. His job is to keep Karin busy. Meanwhile, Tauta discovers that the slums are ablaze. As he tries to find out what's causing the fire, He's ambushed by the same group in masks that attacked the guards. Kuramaru comes to help Tauta and fills him in on what's going on. He explains that the masked attackers are shadow dolls, which someone can control remotely. Suddenly, a wolf appears, and a guy named Nagumo is with it. Seeing the situation getting out of hand, Tauta tells Ruki to get to safety and help with the trouble spreading through the town. After that, the werewolf charges at Tauta and casts a spell that immobilizes him. Tauta is unable to fight back. Kuramaru is left to confront the enemies on his own. Meanwhile, Keo continues to confront Karin in the bathroom. He manages to pin her against the wall and uses an electric knife to keep her subdued while the masked dolls appear. Kuramaru holds his ground against the werewolf. The wolf is powerful, but Kuramaru is determined to give it his all to defeat him. Suddenly, the wolf swiftly appears next to Kuramaru using super speed. It knocks him to the ground and delivers a series of heavy blows. Kuramaru collapses next to Tauta and notices that Tauta can't move due to a magical symbol the wolf has etched into him. Being a vampire, the symbol affects him even more. The wolf secures Kuramaru with metal rods and covers him with ice. While doing this, the wolf teases Kuramaru, suggesting that he might actually be a girl in disguise. Out of nowhere, Ruki returns and bravely positions himself between the wolf and his injured friends. Kuramaru yells at him to get away. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, Keo reveals he's been keeping a close watch on Karin. He claims to know all about her past and has become fixated on her, confusing his obsession for love. The confrontation outside escalates when the wolf seizes Ruki. The wolf is indifferent to harming Ruki as it's part of his job. They are hired guns, paid by the elite who live in the tower to eliminate the less fortunate who are on what the elite consider their property. To the wolf, it's all just business. The wolf is just about to take Ruki's life when Kuramaru comes to the rescue. Kuramaru breaks free from the metal pillars and rushes towards Ruki, intending to save him. But something surprising happens. It turns out that someone else has already blocked the wolf's attack, and that someone is Tauta. Everyone is left in awe, wondering how Tauta is able to move despite having the seal on him. Not only that, but his arms are also emitting a mysterious dark aura. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, Keo continues to trouble Karin until she retaliates by delivering a powerful kick which causes many painful memories of mine to pop up. To everyone's surprise, Karin starts to glow brightly, indicating that she possesses holy power. This is unexpected because Karin is a vampire, and vampires aren't usually associated with holy abilities. Karin reveals that she is blessed by a divine being, and she uses her newfound power to knock Keo against the wall and give him a good beating until he can no longer move. Nagumo asks Tauta if he knows what the power on his hands is, but Tauta admits that he doesn't have any knowledge about it. The wolf, not wasting any time, tries to attack Tauta, but Tauta swiftly delivers a punch before the wolf can react. Realizing the danger they're in, Tauta instructs Kuramaru to take Ruki and leave while he handles Nagumo and the wolf. Just then, Karin arrives and offers to take on Nagumo while Tauta focuses on battling the wolf. During the intense fight, Tauta realizes that the wolf is actually Kaido, as Kaido possesses the ability to use the flash step. When Kaido realizes that his true identity has been exposed, he reverts back to his normal form. Kaido prepares himself for a fight against Tauta. They both charge at each other, but Tauta surprises Kaido by demonstrating a mastery of the flash step beyond what Kaido had expected. At a critical moment, Kaido decides to unleash a hidden technique that he hadn't shown Tauta before. With a skill that he never taught Tauta, Kaido charges towards him. Tauta is caught off guard, and before he knows it, Kaido's hand is piercing through his chest. Kaido refers to this technique as the Bright Piercing Judgment. This technique is Kaido's ultimate move, capable of shattering the heart of an immortal. However, something unexpected happens. A dark aura emerges from Tauta's body, restarting his heart. With a surge of newfound strength, Tauta pushes Kaido away, sacrificing one of his hands in the process. Nagumo recognizes this power as the Magia Rebia, a dark magic that holds the secret of immortality. Only 2 individuals in recorded history have been known to possess this power. One is Evangeline, and the other is considered the greatest mage in the world. In a display of his growing power, Tauta grabs hold of Kaido and throws him into the distance. Fueled by his negative emotions, Tauta becomes even more formidable. Karin steps in to prevent Nagumo from interfering, stating that Tauta is their responsibility. Tauta is on the edge of defeating Kaido, but he manages to calm himself down and stops using the Magia Rebia. As Tauta's strength fades, they decide to end their battle with an arm wrestling contest instead. Kaido tries to use his secret move, but it doesn't work. Tauta ends up winning and sends Kaido crashing to the ground. Karin realizes she didn't give Tauta enough credit. Nagumo steps forward to take Kaido away now that their job there is done. The town around them is burning, and it seems like there's no way to put out the flames. That's when Yukaheim shows up and uses a spell of ice to put out the fire. Tauta is curious about how Yukaheim knows Nagumo, and she says she'll explain it to him later. Nagumo creates a portal for himself and Kaido to leave. Yukaheim then tells Tauta that he has her blood in his veins, which is why he can use the power of the Magia Rebia. All this time, someone has been watching them from a huge screen. Next up, Kuramaru is holding onto Kurobo and questions him about the Magia Rebia, worrying that it might cause trouble for Tauta. Kurobo changes the subject and teases Kuramaru about having feelings for Tauta. Kuramaru gets flustered, denies it, and tosses Kurobo aside before dashing off. Meanwhile, Shinobu has put together a device she's planning to enter into the solar race. Tauta seems really taken with her invention and doesn't hide his admiration. From a distance, Kuramaru watches them, and it looks like he's feeling a bit envious. Later, Karin heads over to let Kuramaru know about her task. She walks in on Kuramaru getting dressed and discovers Kuramaru is actually a girl who has been pretending to be a boy. Kuramaru pleads with Karin to keep this a secret from Tauta and offers to share her story. Turns out, Kuramaru is a demi-human known as Yata no Karasu. They don't have a specific gender until they reach adulthood, and at the age of 16, they can choose the gender they identify with. After learning this, Karin becomes aggressive towards Kuramaru and suggests that she should choose to be female. Karin wants Kuramaru to spend her life with Tauta so that he won't have to disturb Yukaheim. Karin even admits her own feelings for Tauta, although she's reluctant to accept them. Suddenly, Iku, who had been listening from afar, reveals himself. He claims to have heard everything but promises to keep it a secret. Iku also offers to help Kuramaru and suggests that she go on a date with Tauta. Kuramaru will disguise herself as a girl and change her hair color to blonde, which happens to be Tauta's preference. When Kuramaru appears in her new disguise, Tauta is still talking about her. She manages to deceive him by pretending to be Kuramaru's sister and convinces him to accompany her into town for a tour. Karin and Iku are delighted that the plan worked, but Iku soon realizes that he will have to complete Kuramaru's tasks, which puts him in a difficult situation. Kuramaru, who introduces herself as Kiryu to Tauta, accompanies Tauta to get permission from Shinobu to borrow the vehicle she just made so that it can take them into town. They get on the vehicle and use it to find their way into town. Kuramaru is happy to be having some alone time with Tauta. She can easily see how caring he is with everything that he is doing. Kuramaru says she would like to go to the tower and Tauta agrees to take her there. Meanwhile, there is a guy stalking the two, and he appears to be dangerous. On the other hand, the white-haired dude who's been keeping an eye on Tauta, and he finds out Tauta's headed to the capital. So, he decides to follow him there. When Tauta reaches the tower, he's totally wowed by how tall it is. He's been itching to climb it, and now's his chance. He's also got this nagging person who's been bugging him to get to the top. While talking, Tauta mentions that he sees Kuramaru as his best bud and thinks they're going to be together forever. This makes Kuramaru think Tauta's cool with him being a guy. But then, Tauta calls Kuramaru cute, which throws Kuramaru into a bit of a confusion, wondering if maybe he should be a girl to keep being seen as cute by Tauta. Kuramaru is just about to confess their love to Tauta when that creepy stalker guy, Ko, shows up with a shadow mage named Asura. Tauta ends up getting sucked into the shadow realm, and poor Kuramaru gets knocked down because she's not used to being a girl and feels weak. But Kuramaru realizes that Ko and Asura are planning to kidnap Tauta, so she decides to take action. She charges at them, and surprisingly she's also immortal. Asura throws her out of the window, but Kuramaru knows she can't beat Asura in her current weak form. Eventually, Kuramaru is defeated and Ko sends her to the Shadow Realm too, intending to take her to their boss. But then, Kuramaru reveals his true strength, removes his disguise, and manages to rescue the unconscious Tauta from the enemies. Ko gets knocked out of the building, and Asura retreats because the cops have shown up. After the chaos settles down, Tauta regains consciousness and immediately starts looking for Kiryu. Kuramaru, not wanting Tauta to worry, assures him that he single-handedly dealt with the attackers and that Kiryu is out of harm's way. Feeling grateful, Tauta expresses his thanks to Kuramaru for the rescue. Meanwhile, Kuramaru is still troubled by the choice of whether to be male or female, a decision that seems to hang in the air unresolved. In another part of the story, Kiri Sakurame can be seen, who's part of the UQ Holders group. She's caught up in performing a certain ritual repeatedly. Iku, curious about this unusual activity, questions her about the significance of the moment. Kiri replies, hinting that something significant is about to unfold, but doesn't give away any detail. Tauta hurries back to the base with Kuramaru. They find Iku, Karin, and a girl named Kiri waiting for them. Tauta remembers Kiri. She's the one playing with sand earlier that day. Iku warns Tauta that Kiri might look young, but she's more than meets the eye. Kiri takes Tauta aside and starts getting mad at him for not keeping her safe. She gives him a bunch of silly rules to follow. Tauta gets annoyed and finally tells her to stop punishing him. Kiri insists he's messed up by not protecting her. Just as she's about to explain more, a scary shadow monster attacks. Tauta wants to fight it, but Kiri grabs his hands. Before he knows it, they're back under the same tree where Kiri was playing before. Confused, Kiri reveals that she has just sent them back in time. Iku and Karin arrive looking for Kiryu. Just as Tauta is about to reveal that Kiri turned back time by hitting him in the leg, Kiri quickly stops him from speaking. She then insists that Iku and Karin take them back to the capital where Kiryu will be waiting on a boat. Kiri takes a moment to explain to Tauta that her abilities aren't magic but a unique power only she possesses. She describes how the sands help her return to her last saved moment. Moreover, if she's holding someone's hand when she dies, she can bring that person's soul along with her. She reveals that she is the 9th holder of this power, known as Kiri Sakurame. Even Karin is unaware of the true extent of Kiri's abilities. Kiri further explains that they have gone through several attempts and in each one, Tauta has been unable to protect her. This cycle of events has repeated multiple times, with Kiri resetting time to try and find a successful outcome. Each time, she hopes for a different result, but so far, their attempts have not been successful. Kiri starts telling the story of the first time they went through everything. She recalls all the things Tauta said during that time. In that timeline, Tauta was able to protect her and defeat someone named Kao. Kiri then goes on to explain about a person called Fate of Verancas, who is considered the most powerful mage ever. Fate's plan is to capture Tauta. Kiri shares that she and Kuramaru got separated from Tauta and Iku for a short while when there was an explosion. Kuramaru rushed towards the explosion without giving Kiri a chance to explain anything. When they reach the scene, they discover that Fate of Verancas is attacking the entire squad. He claims to be the legal guardian of Tauta and has come to take him away. As he is about to turn Kiri into stone, she quickly ends her own life so that she can reset everything once again. Tauta is really surprised when he learns all this. He asks Kiri about who Fate is, and she tells him that Fate is a user of earth magic who used to be seen as a hero but has now turned against people for reasons that are not clear. Kiri isn't sure why Fate claims to be Tauta's legal owner, but she believes that things will be bad if Fate manages to get hold of Tauta. While they are talking about this, Karin arrives. Karin has overheard their conversation and now understands the true nature of Kiri's powers. Kiri had been keeping her powers a secret because she didn't want others to know her weaknesses. Tauta reassures her not to worry, telling her that Iku and the rest would never hurt her. Karin and the others also assure Tauta that they will make sure Kiri is safe with them. Kiri tells everyone that they need to come up with a plan to deal with Fate. They already know when and where he will attack, so now they just need to figure out how to turn things around and capture him. Yukaheim, their leader, has given her approval for this mission. They just need to come up with Plan A and Plan B. They head to the location where Fate will appear and start discussing their strategies. Tauta will be the one to attract Fate's attention, while Karin and Iku will act as distractions. Kuramaru and Kiri will be ready to assist, with Kuramaru trying to position Kiri behind Fate when he arrives. Once Kiri manages to touch Fate, their problems will be solved. She will then take Fate to the basement of the facility, where it will take him some time to find a way out. The entire team is really eager to go with Kiri when the moment arrives, and she agrees to take them along. Their main task is to make sure they reach Kiri before she escorts Fate to the basement. Kiri warns them that if they're late, she won't wait for them. With the plan all set, they start to put it into action. Tauta is assigned to keep in touch with everyone using his smartphone. During the preparations, Tauta wonders why Yukaheim isn't there to help since her strength would be very beneficial. Kiri explains that if Yukaheim were nearby, Fate would sense her presence as soon as he got close, and that could mess up their whole plan. While Tauta is discussing this with the team, a mysterious person in a hoodie walks by and accidentally hits his hands. This incident makes Tauta even more curious about Fate. And just then, a video pops up on his phone with Yukaheim explaining who Fate is. Yukaheim shares that Fate played a key role in solving a major problem on Mars about 80 years ago, which ended up saving the world. During that time, Negi Springfield, who was Tauta's grandfather, was also there and they were good friends. However, after Negi passed away 20 years ago, Fate started acting differently and became a danger to people. Yukaheim mentions that Fate is interested in Tauta because of his previous connection with Negi. She warns Tauta to be wary of anything Fate might say to him. And then the video finishes. Just after that, Fate appears, but the team can't use their taser on him because Tauta's childhood friends from his village are right next to Fate. They find themselves having no choice but to wait and see what unfolds next. Suddenly, Tauta's friends spot him and rush over. At this moment, Iku sees that Fate is a bit away from Tauta's friends, giving him a chance to use his laser. Just as he's about to activate it, he's attacked from behind. Fate appears right behind one of Tauta's friends, gently placing his hand on their shoulder. Tauta, already nervous and sweaty, braces for the worst. However, Fate calmly introduces himself as an old friend of Tauta's grandfather. Hearing this, Tauta's friends are eager to introduce themselves too, but Fate interjects, revealing he already knows them. He confidently states their names are Nikimaru Tanaka and Toru Mitsuhashi, indicating he has taken them as hostages. Fate proposes that Tauta accompanies him to prevent any harm befalling everyone in the area, including his friends. Since Fate possesses overwhelming power, Tauta realizes he has no chance of challenging him. With Tauta now under his control, Fate suggests that Tauta instruct his friends to come out of hiding and surrender their weapons. However, Tauta strongly disagrees and firmly states that he will never go with Fate. In that intense moment, Kurobo swiftly lands in Tauta's hands, prompting Tauta to shout out to everyone, warning them about the presence of a dangerous person. This creates a diversion, allowing Karin to sneak up behind Fate and launch an attack. Unfortunately, Fate effortlessly blocks Karin's attacks. Tauta rushes towards Fate, attempting to strike him, but Fate effortlessly blocks their attacks with a smile on his face. This smile infuriates Tauta, intensifying his desire to attack Fate. Tauta then enhances the weight of his sword to an astonishing 500,000 times its original weight, enabling him to break through Fate's defensive barrier. Witnessing this, Fate's comrade momentarily loses focus on Iku, allowing Iku to break free and unleash the laser attack on Fate. However, Fate swiftly erects another barrier to intercept the laser. Just as it seems like Fate has the upper hand, Kiri suddenly appears and leaps towards him. She embraces him, hoping to buy time for her comrades to regroup and join her. Unfortunately, this proves to be a grave mistake. Seizing the opportunity, Fate turns Kiri into stone, effectively neutralizing their trump card. He taunts them, mocking their lack of options. Iku continues to fire the laser at Fate, providing an opportunity for his comrades to escape. However, Tauta decides to stay and confront Fate, believing that there is still some humanity left in him. Suddenly, another one of Fate's allies named Shaba appears, engaging Karin in battle. Meanwhile, Asura joins the fray against Kuramaru. The opponent facing Iku is a woman named Ai. Despite Karin knowing that retreating is the best option, their enemies refuse to let them leave so easily. Tauta charges at Fate, utilizing his flash step skill, but Fate effortlessly deflects the attack and sends Tauta crashing into a wall. Fate swiftly appears behind Tauta, unleashing a barrage of blades. Remarkably, Tauta manages to evade each one, although he loses his shirt in the process. Tauta quickly understands that Fate is not only the strongest magician in the world, but also skilled in martial arts, making him a formidable opponent. He rushes at Fate, altering the weight of his sword at different times to confuse him. As they fight, Tauta gets a call from Karin, who informs him about some numbers appearing on Kiri's arm. Realizing Kiri is planning something and hasn't given up, they know they need to keep Fate and his allies busy until the numbers reach 0. Tauta manages to hold them off until the countdown ends. Just as the timer hits 0, Fate realizes too late that Kei has developed a cure for petrification. Kei seizes this moment to grab Fate, and the others quickly join her. Together, they manage to retreat successfully, marking this as their 10th attempt. Fate finds himself trapped in the basement, surrounded by Tauta and his friends. Yukaheim, who is also present, mocks Fate for falling into the trap set by the young ones. Fate is prepared to fight against Yukaheim, and he believes he has the highest chance of winning. However, he realizes that if he engages in battle, he will have to face 4 other immortals as well. Not wanting to exert himself unnecessarily, Fate offers them a proposition. He suggests that if they allow him to leave, he will answer any question they ask him truthfully. He claims to possess knowledge about everything, so each person is entitled to ask him one question. Tauta is eager to ask his question, but his friends urge him to hold off. They suggest that he should listen to their questions first so he can determine the most crucial question to ask afterward. Iku goes first and asks Fate about his intentions towards Tauta. Fate reveals that he is pursuing Tauta to use his power to bring back Negi to life. This surprises Tauta, who had believed that his grandfather was dead, only to discover that this was not true. Next, Karin takes her turn to ask a question. She inquires about who Negi loved more, him or Yukaheim. Fate finds himself in a tricky position with this question, as giving a straightforward answer could anger Yukaheim, potentially putting him in danger. Then Kuramaru also poses her own question to Fate. She asks if Tauta has to go with him right away, to which Fate responds with a no. He reveals that Negi will not pass away for at least the next 2 decades. However, when that time comes, the entire world will also face its demise alongside Negi. Despite this, Fate assures Tauta that he doesn't need to accompany him immediately. When it's finally Tauta's turn to ask his question, he directly asks Fate if he is the one responsible for the death of his parents. Fate admits to this, and Tauta becomes furious upon hearing the truth. He becomes ready to attack Fate, but their confrontation is interrupted by the sudden appearance of an image of Negi. This image seems to be a live communication from an unknown location. Yukaheim uses telepathy to speak to Kuramaru and instructs him to observe Tauta closely. She mentions that there is a device on Tauta that enables him to communicate with Negi. Yukaheim then directs Kuramaru to destroy this device. Following her orders, Kuramaru approaches and successfully dismantles the device before Negi can reveal the full truth to Tauta about the ongoing event. After this, Fate and Yukaheim agree that it would be better to keep Tauta in the dark about the true circumstances. After everything settles down and Fate is allowed to leave, Kiri feels upset because she was left out of the entire ordeal. Meanwhile, Tauta keeps pushing Yukaheim to reveal the secrets about his grandfather, but she's not ready to share them yet. She shuts her office door and quietly expresses her regret. Soon after, an elderly woman and a young girl arrive looking for Yukaheim and Tauta. While Tauta is eating a meal prepared by Shinobu, the newly arrived lady bursts in. She introduces herself as Yukihiro and claims that Tauta comes from a line of men who have historically charmed women, with his ancestors having a reputation for this. She mentions that Yukaheim's great-grandmother was also charmed by them. Yukihiro is determined to prevent any more women from falling for them. She rushes at Tauta, who responds by knocking her back with great force, sending her flying away. However, Tauta quickly goes after her, catches her, and gently sets her down on a rooftop. There, Yukihiro reveals her true purpose. She wants Tauta to marry her. But Tauta politely declines, saying it's all too sudden. Well, on the flip side, there's a conversation happening in Yukaheim's office between her and her great-grandmother. They're reminiscing about their college days when Negi, who is Tauta's grandfather, was their professor. It seems that back then, all the girls were vying for Negi's attention, and Yukaheim's great-grandma was one of them. Meanwhile, Yukihiro is busy cooking meals for Tauta in an attempt to win his heart. Kiri and the other girls notice that Yukaheim is preparing the food herself, which worries them. They're concerned that Yukaheim might have an advantage in winning Tauta's affection. Kiri even falls to her knees, but she's still hesitant to admit her feelings for Tauta. Karin believes that mortal girls, like themselves, have an upper hand over immortal girls in capturing Tauta's heart. This situation continues to break Kiri's heart because she realizes that their chances of winning Tauta's affection are diminishing with each passing day. Iku appears and informs the girls that he has a solution to their predicament. His proposed solution involves spending time with Tauta at the hot springs. However, Kiri and Karin initially resist following Iku's suggestion. In response, Iku threatens to reveal their secret to the human girls. Fearing the consequences, Kiri and Karin plead with him not to disclose the information and reluctantly begin considering his proposal. Meanwhile, Yukihiro's great-grandmother and Yukaheim continue their conversation about Negi and their college experiences. Yukaheim has always harbored a fear of letting people go, and her great-grandmother reminds her of something Negi once told them, that all it takes is a little courage. So, Iku presents a potential solution to the girls' dilemma, which causes some internal conflict among them. On the other hand, Yukihiro's great-grandmother offers words of wisdom to Yukaheim, reminding her that courage can make a significant difference in one's life. So, Tauta and Iku decide to enter the hot spring together, with Iku using this as an opportunity to buy some time for the girls to make their decision. Iku had previously mentioned that in order to become Tauta's favorite, the girls would need to scrub his back 50 times. Unexpectedly, Karin appears, surprising Iku. He had assumed that Karin wasn't interested in Tauta, but here she is. Karin claims she's only there to watch, but then she pulls out a brush and pins Tauta to the floor, starting to scrub his back. However, Karin arrives and intervenes, questioning why Karin is suddenly acting this way when she had previously shown disinterest. Yukaheim also makes her entrance, and it quickly becomes a battle to see who will get the chance to scrub Tauta's back. Just as the commotion reaches its peak, Kuramaru arrives and takes Tauta away from the chaos. As the group continues to fight amongst themselves, Yukaheim seizes the opportunity and begins to scrub Tauta's back. It's only then that the group realizes they were too late, and Yukaheim has already claimed the task of scrubbing Tauta's back. Iku tells the girls they don't need to worry if Yukaheim and Tauta already have feelings for each other. After saying this, Iku quickly leaves the scene. Yukaheim and Shinobu then sit together to discuss their rivalry over Tauta. Yukaheim explains that she is there to look out for Shinobu because she seems vulnerable, but she won't just let her win Tauta's affection. That evening, Tauta and Yukaheim meet at the pier. Yukaheim looks like her usual self, and Tauta is curious why she chooses to appear that way. Yukaheim mentions she has something important to tell him and wants to do so in her true form. Before she can say more, Tauta interrupts to ask if she loves Negi. Yukaheim confesses that she does love Negi and still holds feelings for him. She reveals that the Negi who showed up recently isn't the Negi she fell in love with. She explains that Negi defeated a wicked wizard known as the Life Maker or the Mage of Beginning, whose real name is Ialda Bayoth, 20 years ago. This wizard takes over the body of anyone who defeats her, allowing her to continue living. This means that Negi has been under the control of the Mage of Beginning for the last 20 years. Yukaheim and Fate both want to rescue Negi, but they disagree on how to do it, leading them to part ways. During their conversation, Tauta mentions that Negi seemed to be trying to communicate something to him before he vanished. Yukaheim then reveals a significant truth. The people Tauta thought were his parents, who died in a crash, were not his biological parents. In fact, the crash was caused by fate, and those who died were not related to him. Curious about his real parents, Tauta asks if they are still alive. Yukaheim admits that Tauta was actually created from Nega's genetic material, making Tauta a clone of Negi. Tauta is taken aback by this shocking revelation and later confides in Kuramaru about what he has learned. As they discuss the situation, Yukaheim bursts into the room and excitedly invites Tauta to the Mahora martial arts tournament that is currently taking place. Filled with anticipation, they make their way to the tournament venue, and Tauta is thrilled to be there. Yukaheim takes the opportunity to explain how the tournament works and how the Immortals participate in it. Tauta becomes eager to participate himself and begins searching for a staff member to inquire about joining. He eventually finds one, but to his disappointment, he learns that the participants for the tournament are selected in advance. The only way for a new member to join is if one of the existing participants becomes unable to compete. Tauta feels a sense of sadness upon hearing this news. However, he quickly decides that he will enter the tournament the following year instead. This would give him the chance to become even stronger and prepare himself for the competition. Despite the initial setback, Tauta remains determined and sees this as an opportunity for growth and improvement. Tauta and Yukaheim are deep in conversation when her great-grandma, Ayaka, arrives with Chachimaru and Mana, who is both the director of the tournament and the headmistress of the school. Tauta is surprised to find out that he's actually in his school. Mana shares that Negi, who taught at the school 80 years ago, was their teacher, and Ayaka along with the others were his students. Meanwhile, Shinobu at the headquarters discovers that everyone is heading to the capital and decides to join them. Ayaka, along with the two women, escorts Tauta to the classroom where his grandfather used to teach. Here, Tauta meets another of his grandfather's students, Seo. Soon, Kiri and Kuramaru arrive and are shocked to see Yukaheim alone. She explains that her great-grandmother took Tauta, suspecting she might be up to some mischief with him. In the classroom, Ayaka stands up from her wheelchair to take a closer look at Tauta's face, delighted to meet the grandson of Negi. Tauta tries to clarify that he isn't Nega's real grandson, but Ayaka insists on seeing him as just that. The women take turns embracing him, trying to reminisce about Negi through Tauta. Just then, Mana gets a phone call informing her that two of the contestants are hurt, but they've managed to find one replacement and only need one more. She looks at Tauta and decides he's the perfect choice to fill in for the injured contestant. It's time for the battle, and Tauta is the first one up after being chosen as the replacement. Kiri and Kuramaru question Yukaheim, wondering if she had a hand in getting Tauta into the tournament, but she denies it. Tauta steps into the ring, facing his opponent, who is named Tina and dressed in a hoodie. Tauta feels like he recognizes Tina. As the fight starts, Tauta rushes at Tina, who dodges easily. Tauta is surprised and comments on his luck in facing a strong opponent right off the bat. Tina smirks and then the fight continues. Kuramaru starts to worry, sensing that Tina might be much stronger than he appears. Meanwhile, Mana finds out from one of the injured contestants that Tina was the one who caused his injury. The fight between Tauta and Tina is fierce, but it looks like Tauta is on the losing side. Tina rushes at him, and Tauta struggles to avoid the attack. Suddenly, Tina slices him in half before he even realizes what's happening. Yukaheim urges Kuramaru to intervene, but Kuramaru explains that a strong barrier protects the stage, and she isn't powerful enough to break it. Despite this, Tauta manages to pull himself together and activates his Erebia, but it's still not enough to overcome Tina's strength and skills. Tina casts a spell that sends several poles flying towards Tauta, pinning him down. Tina taunts Tauta, calling him a lesser version of Negi. Just then, Tauta's friends begin to cheer him on, giving him the strength to free his left arm and strike Tina in the face, knocking off her hoodie. To his surprise, he discovers Tina is actually a girl. At that moment, Tina reveals she's just the warm-up act. Suddenly, a figure starts to materialize behind Tina. It's Negi, Tauta's grandfather. Mana recognizes that while it looks like Negi, it's also the mage of the beginning who has come for Tauta. Negi explains that he has come for Tauta because he believes Tauta is the key to saving the world. However, Tauta is skeptical and questions why Negi didn't seek him out earlier if that were true. Negi admits that he didn't know Tauta's location and had been sending visions of himself to those related to him by blood, hoping they would lead him to Tauta. He reveals that Yukaheim had successfully kept Tauta hidden from him. Just as they are talking, Yukaheim arrives and effortlessly breaks the barrier with one of her powerful spells, demonstrating her immense strength. She doesn't refer to Negi by his name, but instead calls him the mage of the beginning, Bayoth. At that moment, 3 of Nega's allies appear, adding tension to the scene. Simultaneously, Kuramaru, Kiri, and Karin arrive, ready to stand by Tauta and Yukaheim's side in the unfolding conflict. The conflict has escalated into a showdown between two formidable groups. Yukaheim warns Tauta and his team that Bio and her associates are tough opponents. She begins to introduce the members of Nega's team to her own. They include Yu, known as the all-knowing for her magical detective skills, Nodoka, who can read minds and see everything, and Jack Racken, an incredibly strong mercenary swordsman. Negi himself adds to this powerful lineup. In an unexpected turn of events, Negi sneezes, which somehow cause everyone's clothes to be torn off, displaying to Tauta and everyone around just how potent Nega's powers are. Meanwhile, Shinobu makes her entrance. Iku and Nodoka approach Tauta, trying to persuade him to join them without resistance, explaining that he is the only successful result after 71 unsuccessful attempts to merge the abilities of Negi and Asuna. Tauta stands his ground and refuses to go with them. Just then, a mysterious voice is heard, and suddenly, a portal opens, pulling everyone into it. Tauta suddenly finds himself in a different time period, coming face to face with a man who introduces himself as Sanders. However, Kurobo interrupts and reveals that his real name is Albairo Ima, the creator of Kurobo himself. Sanders, upset that his secret has been exposed, punishes Kurobo by subjecting him to the intense pressure of a black hole. Once he finishes punishing Kurobo, Sanders explains to Tauta that he used to be friends with Yukaheim but now works for Negi. His task is to persuade Tauta, and he chooses to do this by sharing Yukaheim's love story. Sanders shows Tauta the past where Yukaheim meets Nagi, who is Nega's father, and falls in love with him. 15 years later, Yukaheim meets Naga's son, Negi, at Mahora Academy. It doesn't take long before she takes Negi under her guidance, making him undergo various strange training routines. Throughout these challenges, Asuna is frequently the one who comes to Nega's aid. Despite the odd training, Negi and Yukaheim's relationship grows stronger. Seeing these images from the past makes Tauta happy, and he thanks Sanders for sharing them. But then, Sanders clarifies that he isn't showing Tauta images from the past. Suddenly, Yukaheim, in her true form, notices Tauta and recognizes him. Before anything else can happen, Bayoth appears and grabs Yukaheim. Tauta is left helpless as Sanders impales him. Both Sanders and Bayoth cruelly cut Yukaheim in half and throw her to the ground. Tauta, despite being thrown down as well, crawls towards Yukaheim. Bayoth declares that the only way for Tauta to save Yukaheim is to merge with her. Tauta reaches out and touches Yukaheim's hands, miraculously allowing her to reform herself. Tauta cradles her in his hands, and Yukaheim confesses that Tauta is the person she has always wanted to be with. In response, Tauta promises to be there for her and make her happy. However, Bayoth is convinced that Yukaheim can never be truly happy. Tauta rebukes Bayoth for making such a negative statement. In response, Bayoth launches a fierce attack on them. Tauta, holding Yukaheim in his arms, skillfully dodges both aggressive strikes. Amidst the chaos, Yukaheim reveals to Tauta that they are in a special dimension where they both possess immense power, capable of making anything they imagine become reality. Understanding the potential of their situation, Yukaheim decides to use this to their advantage. She casts a spell that creates a balanced environment, allowing them to fully utilize their strengths in combat. Yukaheim explains that if they can shatter both's mental resolve in this dimension, it would mean her defeat. Filled with determination, they rush towards Bayoth to confront her. However, Bayoth cleverly distracts Yukaheim by conjuring an image of Negi, causing Yukaheim to lose focus and fall to the ground. Tauta, attempting to strike Bayoth, finds himself overpowered and is also knocked down during the intense battle. Yukaheim accidentally reveals that throughout her 700-year life, she has truly loved only 3 individuals. Tauta, lacking the insight, fails to realize that he is the third person she refers to. As their battle progresses, Yukaheim manages to strike Bayoth with a potent spell. Despite her efforts, the attack isn't enough to defeat Bayoth. Meanwhile, Tauta struggles as he is overwhelmed by visions of Karin and the other girls pulling him into an abyss. He is aware that these are mere illusions created by both's imagination, yet he finds it challenging to resist them. Suddenly, Asuna appears out of the blue and rescues Tauta, pulling him away from the brink. She shatters the dark dimension around them, clearing up their surroundings and revealing the true environment. Following her heroic entrance, Asuna introduces herself to Tauta, who quickly realizes that he is looking at his own grandmother. Yukaheim is taken aback to see Asuna, especially since she was supposed to be on Mars. Asuna explains that her physical body is still located on Mars, but she was able to manifest herself from within Tauta because Bayoth had tampered with something inside him. Overjoyed to see Yukaheim after a long time, Asuna embraces her warmly. To their surprise, Karin and the rest of the team also join them in this dimension. Bayoth attempts to attack, but Asuna effortlessly blocks the assault and reveals that they have only been in this dimension for a mere 0.7 seconds. Asuna informs the group that the real battle will commence once they leave this dimension. Before their departure, she shares with each of them the weaknesses of their respective opponents. Specifically, Asuna tells Tauta that the power residing within him is the only force capable of defeating Bayoth. He is given a time limit of 37 seconds to summon and use this power. Asuna slices through the illusory dimension, allowing the team to return to the real world and commence the battle. Kiri is assigned to face Jack, and she has been instructed to target his eyes. Following the instructions, Kiri successfully strikes Jack, causing him to fall to the ground. Kuramaru employs a binding spell to incapacitate Yu and her sister. Yukaheim, on the other hand, creates an ice barrier to trap Tina, triggering his Iria power. With determination in her eyes, she charges towards Negi. However, Negi manages to evade Yukaheim's initial attack. Tauta expresses his unwavering resolve to free his grandpa from both's clutches. Meanwhile, the rest of the team continues their struggle against Negi's allies, trying to distract them long enough for Tauta to unlock the power within him. Just as Negi seems to be gaining the upper hand over Tauta, Fate arrives on the scene. Together with Yukaheim, Fate manages to restrain Negi by forming a barrier around them. Inside this confined space, Fate extracts their consciousness, allowing Negi's true self to emerge and converse with Yukaheim and Fate. Fate reveals that he has discovered a method to release Negi from Bayoth's control. However, Negi, now intertwined with Bayoth, insists that the only solution is his termination. As Negi is about to delve deeper into the conversation, Tauta interrupts, urging him to focus on Yukaheim, who has deeply missed him. Overwhelmed by emotion, Yukaheim leaps into Negi's arms, expressing her longing. Touched by the scene, Negi praises Tauta for his kindness and is on the verge of sharing something important when suddenly their connection is cut off. They return to their physical forms and the team attempts to contain Negi within a wall. However, Negi demonstrates his strength by effortlessly breaking free, as if the barrier were mere paper. Negi's body turns white and begins to emit a bright light. He attacks the trio effortlessly. Tauta's countdown of 37 seconds ends, and he unlocks the same abilities as his grandfather. Meanwhile, Karin and the rest of the team are struggling against Jack and his allies. Tauta escapes from the arena, soaring into the sky, with Negi in hot pursuit. The battle between Tauta and his grandfather escalates in the air. Tauta confronts Negi, striking him in the face and reproaching him for succumbing to Bayoth's influence. Tauta is resolute in his mission to rescue his grandfather, regardless of Negi's own desires. Just as Tauta gains the advantage, Jack appears and stabs him with a massive sword, causing him to plummet back into the arena. The entire team is already exhausted and weakened. As Negi prepares to finish off Tauta, Kiri intervenes, stepping in front of them to remind Negi of her abilities. Negi approaches Kiri, who wears a smile despite her obvious feelings for Tauta, which she continues to deny. Yu and Nodoka voice her thoughts out loud, yet she still refuses to admit them. During this moment, Tina begins to hurt Kiri with her sword, causing her distress while Tauta is unable to intervene. As Kiri withstands the attack, she informs Tauta that they've waited long enough and it's time to reveal their actual scheme. Suddenly, the entire group finds themselves transported 80 years back in time to Mahora. There, Negi is struck by bullets designed to block his magic, shot by students who were anticipating his arrival. Even so, he manages to escape their hold. The students show their fondness for him while posing a challenge. They successfully create a big diversion, which allows them to administer a substance to Negi that weakens him. Negi is puzzled by the presence of all these familiar faces from his past. They explain that they have been residing within Tauta all along, only now taking physical form. It turns out that Tauta is not just created from the genes of Negi and Asuna, he also carries the genetic makeup of all the girls in Class 3A. Essentially, he is as much their child as he is Negi's. Asuna makes an appearance too, and she shares a warm hug with Negi. Suddenly, they find themselves transported to a different location, and Negi realizes that he's no longer in control of the situation. Negi decides it's best to retreat for now. He informs Asuna of their need to pull back. He also assures Tauta that he'll be waiting for him at the summit of the tower. Right after he says this, a brilliant light envelops Negi and his group, whisking them back to the top of the tower. Once Negi and his team have left, Tauta and his companions find themselves back in the arena, pondering their next move. The area is heavily damaged, yet miraculously, no lives are lost. Jinbei managed to move everyone to safety, though he chooses to keep the method he used a secret. Meanwhile, Fate returns to his original spot and warns Yukaheim not to interfere in his plans again in the future. Yukaheim responds by saying she can't make any promises. She gazes up at the tower and silently vows to Negi that she will come to him the next time they encounter each other, once everything has settled down. Kiri clarifies that her earlier confession was merely a tactic to delay Negi and his team. Shortly afterward, Tauta goes to Yukaheim's office to tell her that he loves her. Yukaheim's initial response is to punch him, but Tauta comes running back into the office. After that, Yukaheim simply dumps him, leaving Tauta shocked. The girls barge into the room and chase after Tauta for proposing to Yukaheim and ignoring them. After they have left, Yukaheim's face is revealed to be blushing hard. Thanks for watching till this long, my fellow men of culture. Don't forget to tell us about your favorite waifu from this anime and subscribe to the channel for more content.